councils, that's the organizations of the unions on the North Shore. I think a lot about Lynn. I've only lived here about 11 years. I wasn't born here. And I was in having a beer with a friend of mine on the bowling alley over in the Lynn way. And he said to me, you know, Jeff, this isn't the Lynn that I was born into. This isn't the Lynn that I grew up in. And I thought about that a lot, because when people say that, what they might mean is, well, there's a lot of foreign people coming here, people that maybe don't look the same as me, they might speak a different language, and that's kind of what people meant, and I thought a lot about Lynn. The fact is, people have always come to Lynn. Back in the 1800s, people came from Ireland, people came from England, later on from Russia, and many other countries. Before the Civil War, there was a big strike in Lynn. It was the shoe industry. And all those buildings downtown, the brick buildings, all used to be shoe factories. It was the biggest strike of workers in the history of this country. And the leader of that strike was from Vermont. The other leader of the strike was from Canada. And in that big strike of 18,000 workers, only 27% were actually born in Lynn. And Lynn has always been that way. Now, sometimes when new people come, it makes people feel threatened. Before they brought the railroad up to Lynn, in the early 1800s, there were people who said, don't bring the railroad up here. They'll bring a lot of crazy people from Boston will come to Lynn. The same thing some people say about the Blue Line today. In 1871, a minister gave a bunch of speeches in Lynn. Thousands of people came to hear him. And he talked about the floating population that was hurting Lynn, and people who didn't come from Lynn, and women who worked in factories, and was dragging down the morals of Lynn. And it was obvious that he was speaking about the Irish. And the pastor, the priest at St. Mary's had to speak up and defend the morals of the immigrants of that time who were coming to Lynn and working in the shoe factories. And of course, there's always been competition between immigrant groups too. The older Italians in Lynn, they can tell you exactly the first day when they finally beat the Irish and got some Italian elected mayor. It's like listening to Puerto Ricans and Dominicans today. It's like the same thing. But people in Lynn also always stuck together. So the leader of the strike that I mentioned, he was also not just a workers' leader, he was abolitionist. He led a movement to try to bring freedom to the slaves. Frederick Douglass, an African-American, escaped slave, integrated a train because he would refuse to be thrown out of the white area. He was a black man on the train. And the whole city boycotted the trains and supported him and integrated those trains that come through Central Square. The first time that men and women ever came together in the United States for one political event, because they used to have to be separate, that happened in Lynn also. It was organized by a woman named Abby Kelly, way back in 1843. So if you know our history, I would say to my friend, if you go back to I'm having a beer with a friend of mine, I would say to him, you know what? This is the Lynn that you grew up in. People from all over the world and all over the United States have always come to Lynn. People in Lynn have always organized and fought for freedom and for justice. People from Lynn have always been called radicals and all that, but they always stuck together. This is the Lynn that is really our history, the Lynn that we love, and the Lynn that we can be proud of, and we welcome each other tonight.